Well, hello. Welcome everyone to the sixth and final masterclass in the series for 2022. If you have attended any of my other masterclasses, you're familiar that this is a series that teaches you how to become the CEO of your own life and really take control of everything that you are doing in the world, everything that you want to happen to you in the world, everything that is coming to you in your future. So cheers to you. Well, welcome. I think we had 2 more people join. This masterclass is called Back to Basics. So like I was saying, this is the 6th and final masterclass in the series for 2022. And this is kind of meant to be like a little bit of an overview class, an opportunity for you to get to ask me any questions, to bring up anything that you've struggled with, if you want any more clarity. So let's go ahead and dive in. Just to go over the objectives real quickly, this course or this class was intended to teach you how to protect your energy, or maybe so remind you how to protect your energy. Actually, at this point, if any of you have come to any of my other classes, could you just drop that in the chat and let me know? It'll give me a good idea of how in depth or how broad I keep the overview. And if you have been to all of my master classes, I have so much love for you. So while everybody's kind of getting settled and dropping it in the chat, if you've been to any of my other master classes, the next objective was to be able to find inspiration within yourself, recommit to your own personal mission, discover your intuition, and get clarity on what you're destined to learn. So let me introduce myself real quick. My name is Kerstie Blue. I am a CPA, so my first career was in public accounting. I'm also an intuitive life coach. I have gone through a journey over the last 10 years to really learn how to let my intuition guide me throughout my life. And it's a relationship with yourself that you develop when you start to get in touch with your intuition and let it lead you. And if you're not super familiar with intuition, think of it as instincts or inner knowing, or just having clear certainty. And when your head, your heart, and your gut, your whole body is really aligned on what direction you're taking with every decision you make. It is really comforting to be in touch with your intuition and your instincts within yourself. Over the last 5 years, I have been following the mantra of be the CEO of my life, be the CEO of your life as I present it outwards. It's really a guiding tool to help me make all of the decisions in order to put myself first and choose what brings me joy, which are the other 2 guiding pillars that I coach on. So when you're considering yourself the CEO of your life, you're recognizing that you and your life are your greatest asset. So in this country, we have a capitalistic economy and society, which means that we tend to think that companies are the holy grail, the end all be all, the most important thing. And not to take it political, but I want to make you aware that even in our legislature, in our laws, it is set up so that people that lead companies, so CEOs and decision makers, their number 1 priority is to increase the profits for their investors. So they're not really looking out for anybody else. They're looking out for themselves, which you can take in a really frustrating way. I've spent a long time and I still am sort of frustrated by that sometimes, but it is also a really good model to be able to take and put back on yourself. So instead of being a CEO of a company like I thought I wanted to be, I can actually be the CEO of my life and behold my life as my greatest asset, make all of my decisions with myself as the number 1 priority, and let that lead me and guide me through the rest of my decisions. And that's true for each and every one of us. If we all are making these decisions as if we're the CEO of our lives, the world is going to be a much better place, because when we fill our cup up first to the point where it's overflowing, and we're full of love and compassion and kindness and grace for ourselves, that has absolutely nowhere else to go but to naturally spill out onto other people. So if you find it sometimes hard to be polite or loving to others, once you fill your cup with that politeness, that love, that kindness for yourself, it's just effortlessly going to pour out to others. So that's something really beautiful that you've hopefully learned throughout this series and that I teach my clients. So as I mentioned, I have 3 pillars that I coach on and that I live my life by. And that's to 1, put yourself first. 2, choose what brings you joy. And 3, be the CEO of your life. So when you choose what brings you joy, I think that's the only pillar I haven't touched on yet. This can be taken in a short-term and a long-term sort of approach. So you can choose what brings you joy in every given moment. Like if you're in a social situation and it brings you more joy to be a wallflower instead of being social with people and connecting with humans, that's something joyous that you can choose in the moment. However, if your goal is to become more social and connect with more humans and build your network, just sipping away on my chai tea latte here. I recently learned how to make them at home, and now I make one every single day. So, oh, you lost my audio.
Just for like those past 2 minutes. It was like a minute and a half that you just said. Yeah. I was trying to be like, we can't hear you, but we hear you now. But
okay, well, that's good.
Yeah.
I think the last topic that you might have missed is when I explained choosing what brings you joy.
Yes, you were getting to the last one. So
okay, so I explained the short term in a social situation. If you're a wallflower, it'll bring you joy to kind of people watch in the moment. But the long-term application of choosing what brings you joy would be to align yourself with your goals. So if your goals in social situations are to make more connections, strengthen your network, connect with more human beings, make more friends, put yourself out there more, then choosing joy in that situation short term is going to be a bit of a discomfort, but you're putting yourself outside of your comfort zone to get to your long-term goal. So you can see how choosing joy can take a couple different paths there, depending on your intention, if it's comfort or if it's growth. So there's really so many directions that you could take these pillars if you start applying them to your life. So I want to quickly recap the masterclasses that we've had throughout the year. I know somebody said they haven't been able to attend, but they wanted to. So you're going to get a real quick synopsis right now. When I designed the classes at the beginning of the year, I was looking at the calendar and I was thinking, what are the ways in which we each need support throughout the year? And so the classes were spaced out about every month and a half or every 2 months. And the first class came at the beginning of February. And so what we learned during that class was how to put yourself first. At the beginning of February, we're coming into the year strong with our New Year's resolutions and any sort of conclusions or things that we've recognized about ourselves from the holidays. We want to take action and make meaningful changes in our lives. But by the time we get to February, we start to sometimes fall off the wagon. And I think that's more common for most of us than not, right? It's so easy to get distracted and to lose sight of our goals. And so what that class taught us was how to observe, align, and rewrite these sort of internal narratives. So when we start to fall off the bandwagon, it's because we're hearing things inside of our head like, I don't have time for that. It's not going to work out for me. It's a lost cause. It's never going to happen anyway. It's not worth it, and so on and so forth. And so what I taught during that class was to observe those thoughts and those narratives in your mind, to really get connected with what your default way of being is, what your default way of thinking is. Then we would align those thoughts, get a picture, get an idea of the vision of how you want your mind to be, how you want to feel when you're going throughout the day. And the third step was to rewrite those narratives in the moment, so that when something comes up in your mind that says, I don't have time, you can stop it and say, but I can make time. I have 5 minutes right now. Or if something says, it's not worth it, you're never going to make it, you can stop that narrative in its track, rewrite it, and tell yourself, no, it is worth it. I'm going to get there. And although it's hard to get the ball rolling, once I start implementing this habit more consistently, it's going to get so much easier. And it's really being able to defend yourself in that mental battle instead of just constantly blocking yourself. So that was the Put Yourself First class. The second class was talking about how to prevent and recover from burnout. So that came to us at the beginning of April. And once we come back from the holidays, we kind of hit the ground running and we start to get really burnt out when we get to the middle of spring. And we're looking forward to the summer and we're really excited. And we're just starting to kind of be like, I don't want to work anymore, right? So during that class, we talked about my 4-step process to preventing burnout. And it really has to do with creating awareness around the best ways for you to work and what's the most supportive environment for you to work in. So during that class, we talked about 4 items such as energy, recognizing your energy cycles and how often you need to take breaks, how often you need to get up and get a sip of water or go to the bathroom, or when you just want to naturally speak to people, learning that energy cycle so that you can build it into your calendar. Maybe instead of holding meetings for an hour, you hold meetings for 45 minutes so that you have an extra 15 minutes to reset your energy, stuff like that. The second pillar we talked about was your routine, your daily routine of how you start your work, how you go throughout your workday, how you end your workday, how to align your routine with your energy cycles. So it's being really mindful about how you plan your day and how you really need to be able to support yourself. Because the truth is, we have full control over what happens in the day, how we show up, how we take care of ourselves. We have agency. And I know a lot of times it's really tempting to just say yes to everybody and overstep all of your boundaries and not honor yourself. But in the capacity of preventing burnout, it is so important for you to honor your boundaries and set up your routine so that it supports you. The next pillar we talked about was motivation. So that's things like making sure that you have something at the end of your day, or maybe at different points in your day, to keep you motivated to get through your work. Whether it is a treat, like some sort of dessert or like fancy restaurant that you're going to, or whether it's maybe a call with a friend or maybe an appointment with a life coach, something that gets you really excited to go throughout your day. That kind of keeps you moving. The fourth pillar was your atmosphere. So when you're working, take a look at your desk right now. Take a look at your surroundings. Are there pretty things that you like to see? Are there lots of clutter around you? Is it an environment that makes you feel stressed out? Is it an environment that makes you feel relaxed and supported? A lot of times we get ourselves into the situation where there's clutter everywhere and there's maybe not a lot of natural light and the temperature's kind of off. And even there's not music or a beautiful scent or a live plant, any sort of flowers next to you. Those things are really, really important. We love to go to restaurants with a really nice ambiance and decorate our houses really nicely, but it's just as important to do the same thing at your office. So, atmosphere, that's the fourth pillar. That's a lot of information, a lot of review from the first two classes. So I'm just going to take a second and pause, catch my breath, let you kind of reconcile any notes that you've taken, anything in your mind. And if you have any questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat. I guess this is like a real brief intermission of sorts. Okay. Not sure if anybody, how can you describe my desk if you cannot see it? I love that. Actually, I know exactly how. So I spent 6 years as an auditor in public accounting, and that meant that every week almost I was at a different company, getting to see how the people that I was working with actually live and exist in their environments. So I have seen quite a bit of workstations. I know that was a joke, but I take everything so literally. So yeah, I'm full of all kinds of insight and knowledge to what it's like. I love that. Thank you. Okay, so our third class, empathetic listening. In our third class, we learned how to take active listening into a sort of superpower status where we mixed in empathy as a part of that active listening. So a lot of people talk about like how you should keep eye contact and not plan out the next thing you're going to say in a conversation, and how you should be really present in a conversation. And that's amazing. So what we did was built on that. And part of that class was recognizing what sort of context clues were missing in the conversation with anybody that you're speaking to. So each of us exist in our own minds, and only we know our lives. We don't know anything about anybody else's life. And it can be really challenging when we're trying to collaborate with other people, request deliverables, or maybe even give them directions of how to help us, when we don't understand their perspective or their point of view. And there could be reasons why things that we explain to them are not landing with them. Maybe they're distracted. Maybe they have some sort of different learning style or listening style from you. And so what we did during that class was to really understand how to be empathetic towards other people that have all sorts of craziness going on in their lives that we can't understand. And so I used the example of how my father had a brain injury when he was, well, about 10 or 12 years ago. And when he was recovering from that brain injury, when he was trying to communicate with people, he couldn't deliver his sentences clearly, and he couldn't remember certain words. And the way other people responded to that was to get frustrated, not really understand what was going on, just kind of like brush him off, forget about it, get really impatient. But when we employ empathy in those sort of situations, we can try to put ourselves in the other person's shoes and understand and consider the things that we might not know. Like they might have some sort of, I'm trying to think of a PC way to put this, some sort of like mental hurdle or struggle that they're going through, some sort of really emotional situation that we're not aware of. And so when we're listening with empathy, there's kind of 4 different things that we need to consider. And the first one of which is to simply be quiet. That's a really big pillar in active listening. So just kind of be quiet as you're listening, and quiet your mind and quiet all of your assumptions. And how did they not understand that? How do they not know that? The second step is to ask why. So we need to ask deeper questions to get an understanding when we notice any sort of context clues might be missing. The third step is to understand our own bias and privilege, to really uncover those sort of assumptions in our brain and our own experience that makes us think a certain way compared to somebody else. And the fourth step is to remember that it is not about you. So when we sort of need to request things from people, we need to collaborate with people, and we're getting an understanding of who they are and how they can help us and any sort of struggles that they might be having. We need to remember that that person is going to be so much more receptive to helping us and desire to help us much more when we can first create a deep connection with them. And how is that deep connection established? Well, if we ask deeper questions, if we're fully present in the conversation, if we're trying to be in their shoes and mirror what they're saying back instead of being totally detached in our own world. So that's kind of wrapped up in a little bow. I love the conversation going on in the chats. It's beautiful. The next class we went through came to us in the middle of July, and it was about granting your own permission. So when we get through half of the summer and we kind of wake up and go, oh my God, the summer's halfway over, or any sort of time period where you have all of these things that you want to accomplish and all this fun you want to have, being able to recognize that you have the permission to take your power into your own hands and make things happen that you want to happen. Like, we get caught up in this idea that our lives are out of control and we're not in the driver's seat, and that things are happening to us, and that all of these people, all of these things need our time. But when we take the time to recognize that we actually have the power, have the agency to put up our boundaries, and that it's totally acceptable to do so, we can then grant ourselves the permission to do exactly what it is we want to do, instead of kind of waiting around for somebody else to tell us, oh, it's okay if you take time off and go on vacation, or waiting for someone to tell us, like, or ask us maybe if we have things that we want to do during the day. If we're sitting there kind of waiting around for somebody else to invite us, we have the power to take action on those things that we want. So that's super vague, but the 3 steps in granting your own permission are to get clear on what it is you actually want, make a decision that you're going to go for it, and then take a step into action. Super simple. Get clear, make a decision on what it is you want, and take a step into action. Our most recent class that happened in September was to uncover your own assumptions and expectations. So it kind of went hand in hand with the empathetic listening class, wherein we were really getting to the root of understanding what sort of default narratives and expectations we have in our brain for everything that happens in the world, what sort of assumptions that we have about other people's lives, what sort of assumptions we have about the way other people view us, really creating awareness around those sorts of default ways of being, and then uncovering the expectations that we attach to those assumptions. So when things don't go the way that we expected it to do, we expected it to go, we have an opportunity to look back at the assumptions that we had about it and analyze, were they true? Were they false? Was I making them up? And that'll really help us whenever we feel this sort of any sort of emotions of being upset or let down or angry or confused. In all of those situations, we have an opportunity to recognize what we actually expected to happen. So that was a really interesting class. It was sort of more theory based than giving any sort of practical steps. Yeah, it's something that takes a lot of time, but the more awareness you create in yourself, the more you're able to uncover these underlying assumptions and expectations of how you operate in the world. And then that brings us back to basics in this class to wrap up everything we've learned. So all of these 5 classes really help you to create awareness in who you are, how you exist, how you operate, and to create the sort of vision of what you actually want things to be like and how you actually want to feel in your life. And so as you go through these classes and you practice the application of the practical steps and the theories that were presented and discussed, you start to get in touch more and more with your intuition and with yourself. So as you get in touch with your intuition and you start to practice these things, you naturally will get aligned with putting yourself first as you start to practice these sorts of boundaries. In every class, there's an undertone of what boundaries you're setting for yourself. And as you create boundaries in your life where there may be missing, you naturally are led to choose what brings you joy by honoring those boundaries. And the application of all of it is how you become the CEO of your life. So it's really this like all-encompassing sort of approach to life. And each of these practices, each of these principles are things that I use as a guiding tool to help my clients as they're moving throughout their lives to achieve whatever goals they want. So I want to bring us back again to a moment of pause and reflection. A lot of information was thrown out there. So if you had taken any notes, if you have any questions, if you want clarity on anything, this is your opportunity. We have plenty of time to do so. Karen, I wish you would have been able to make it too. It's a really great time. For a short period of time, these classes will still be available in the Bloom Vault, but they will be coming down soon. So if you do have any free time, they were recorded. They are in the Bloom Vault on the platform. But yeah, they will be coming down soon because we are going to be coming out with a big surprise soon. So kind of waiting to see if anybody has any sort of questions dropping into the chat. I'm going to go ahead and lead us through a sort of grounding exercise so that we can all just let all of that information kind of sit in our subconscious in silence. Welcome, Donna. It's a great time to jump in. I think you were at the majority of the classes throughout the year, so all you've missed so far is a recap of everything. Hello. So everybody, I'd like if we can just kind of relax and sit back into our chairs, maybe put both feet flat on the floor and turn your palms upward in your lap. We're just going to drop into our bodies and take some deep breaths. Go ahead and notice your natural breathing pattern right now. Notice how you're feeling in your body. If you're relaxed, if you're excited, if you're holding any tension. And go ahead and start to slow down your breathing. Maybe make your exhale a little bit longer than your inhale. For some people, it might be helpful to count. So count as you breathe in for 3 or 4 beats and hold it at the top for a beat, and then exhale 3, 4, or 5 seconds. And as you continue to breathe, I'm just going to drop a little bit of wisdom into your ears. There was a lot of information presented in these masterclasses, but I want you to understand and know that all of it is already within you. You already know the way to be the CEO of your life. You already know how to put yourself first. And you know how to choose what brings you joy. As we've grown up in this world and become adults, we've lost touch with that inner child. But each of these lessons are things that we knew so deeply when we were children. That intuition, that instinct that I mentioned, is not something that's developed throughout your life. You're already born with it. The work that we get to do as we mature throughout life is not to become who we're supposed to be, but more so to unbecome all of the things that we think we should be and how we think we're supposed to be. And go ahead and just take a quick body scan. Recognize any sort of tension that you're holding in your face, in your neck or your shoulders. In your arms, your hands. And just relax your stomach. Any sort of tension you're holding in your legs or your feet. Take another deep breath and just let all of it go. You're exactly where you're supposed to be. You are safe, you are loved, and you are supported so deeply. Go ahead and take another deep breath. And you can open your eyes when you're ready. I just want to quickly give us all a moment to set an intention for the last 2 months of the year. So recognize what it is that maybe has been a recurring theme for you or that you've been struggling with lately, and go ahead and set an intention right now of how you want the next 2 months to go, how you are going to overcome any sort of struggle that has come up for you, how you are able to achieve what you want and what you've been working for. developing new habits in our lives is a challenge, but the climb is totally worth it. So if there's anything that anybody is noticing, any sort of assistance you'd like or clarity you'd like help kind of coming to terms with, go ahead and drop it in the chat, and you can even send it to me privately. The drop down arrow, instead of to everyone, just choose my name and we can talk about it. While anybody might be typing in the chat or writing things down, I wanted to go ahead and share a little bit more. I have a beautiful new season opened up, freed. Oh, that's amazing. You're free. What a great feeling to have. That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing. So yeah, I wanted to share, if you have received any sort of peace, inner knowing, progress, practicing the things that I have offered in these masterclasses, I wanted to share that it's just the tip of the iceberg. So this work that I brought to you today, I've been working on for 10 years. And these masterclasses were really just an introduction to anybody who is looking to go deeper. Each of us have really deep assumptions and expectations that kind of exist deep within our mind and our repressed memories and our subconscious brain. And if there are things that you are still coming up against a wall on, or you notice the cyclical feeling of not being enough or not being worthy of something, or that you're just struggling with anything emotionally, I am here to help you. I do offer a free kind of meet and greet session so that we can talk one-on-one and really get to know what you've been struggling with, what your goals are, and what it looks like to work with me. It's kind of like a little bit of a taste of the one-on-one sort of atmosphere. I recently this year invested the most I ever have into a coach. And even though I've been doing this work for 10 years, the hurdles that I'm able to overcome right now are absolutely insane. Like deep subconscious beliefs about how I think other people see me and how the things that I share with the world are received by other people. And these are things that I could have never come to terms with on my own. And I've seen at least 12 different therapists in my life. So I just wanted to stress the opportunity to you, if you are interested in one-on-one coaching to overcome anything that you've been struggling with. It's really an amazing opportunity. And through that free one-on-one meet and greet, we can both get an idea of whether we're going to work well together, or I could recommend you to any of the other coaches in my network. I'm connected with more than 30 different coaches, so we could definitely find the right person for you that can really see you deeply. If you've been to any of my other classes, I've packed them so full that we went almost over the hour. And so I'm really happy to say that through 6 classes, I've finally been able to figure out how to not pack them so full that we didn't run out of time. So the rest of the time for the hour is really just for us to be able to talk and connect. And if you feel like you've received what you came here for, then I thank you for coming. Know that we have some really exciting announcements coming out that I'm in collaboration with Bloom for 2023. So make sure you watch out for those in the next coming weeks. I hope everybody has a wonderful holiday season, sending you all of the love. And if anybody would like to speak with me directly, you can reach out to me on the Bloom platform. That was the beauty of what I had for you today. So thank you so much for coming.